Hello everyone, this is Chad again. I'm back and I'm doing one video at a time because of my iPhone storage, and then I have to transfer it to my computer, my laptop. So I'm putting in the Wi-Fi Bluetooth card, which I hope I can get to line up properly. So you try to line it up on the I/O, which is the back, and that one is weird, but it's in. So I think it's actually because of the motherboard being closer. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try putting I'm gonna put the Wi-Fi card back down. I'm gonna try putting in the graphics card, which again, as I said in the previous video, can be a pain. Try not to ever put a GPU, which is a graphics card, or a CPU, or RAM, and of course hard drives, even solid state, on a magnetic magnetic thing. This is a magnetic tray. I used it to hold screws, as you can see, motherboard screws. The outside pin for one of the I/Os. I'm kind of done with this, so I will put that down by my power supply right now, so I have a little more room. And so I'm going to try getting the graphics card in, and hopefully I can get it in without a problem. I hate these little retention slip pins because they don't like to stay, and they're supposed to be fit mounted, but with me having 3 different video cards in this computer at different times, the fit mount for where the video card's going actually is not fitted right anymore. For some reason, I cannot get the fit mounts to work with where I'm going with the graphics card, because I can't get it on the fits. And I've had this problem before, specifically with this graphics card, let alone the 2 AMD ones I had in this computer. And that's because I have to bend the pins. Normally I do this 2 hands, but now there. That is technically in, and right there is the hole for the screw to hold these in. Now, I am not sure, like I'm going to check the pins because I'm not sure that it's going to hold that in there. And yes, it will, because these go over here on the back of the case. Those two slots. So the graphics card is now installed. And I can do that because I hooked anything up that I needed to from the power supply. The power supply doesn't have anything except for that pin right there and that pin right there. And they're very easy to run wiring to. So hopefully I can have a decent signal with this Wi-Fi card. Because, like I said before, the pre-installed one I had before, that Wi-Fi card, I don't know what was up, but the board had killed the original Wi-Fi card that was in this computer. And one other one. So something tells me that the Wi-Fi Mini PCIe Express was malfunctioning. And I had very, very crappy signal, even with a Nintendo. And for some reason, this does not want to fit right because I can't manipulate it with one hand, it looks like. And if I'm not careful, I will break the card. And so there we go. My cards are in. Now I put the shield on the back for the expansion slots, and this is much easier when it's flat. It's much easier to manipulate. The last time I put the graphics card in, I had it standing up. And anybody that's ever just added a card, let alone seen videos or anything, standing up is extremely difficult. Yes, that is my hand. I'm trying to thread the screw and start it because I can't. This screw has been cross-threaded before, not by me. Alright. I'm only going to need a screwdriver one more time because that's plugging or screwing the power supply in when I get it mounted. And I probably should have waited to mount to do the switch. So, because I didn't wait, I'm going to reroute it slightly. Up in there, if you can't, I can't show you, but up in here there's a chassis cable hook. And it's extremely difficult to mount the wiring in it because it's really bad. So I can bend that and move it. I just don't want to get the power supply, get that buried under the power supply. So now it's time to hook up the SATA cables. I am not using a SATA cable from the box because only one I would use it on would be the DVD drive. But because of the way the DVD drive is, I don't need to. And I'm putting the SATA cable for the DVD drive right in the top left SATA port. If I can get the cable to manipulate. And it helps if you put it the right direction. So now this cable is the cable for the hard drive, but I have a black short because it came from an Asus board from a previous computer shop that closed, and it's right angle, and I'm going to try that one because it's shorter. If I can open the bag. Put you down. Alright. So, I got a, aha, I think it is right here. And it's not really that much shorter, but it is a shorter cable. So I may actually end up using, at some point for cable management, I may end up using the one that came with the yeah, see, this is why I may use the one that came with the motherboard, because now I can't get that on. So I think I am going to use the one that came with the motherboard. So I have to get that out. I put the old motherboard in the box. I'm going to put you down. Get the motherboard box. Take my strap off. I'm back. I have the box. I'm going to put my ESD strap back on, which, because of the way I have it, it keeps falling off. And keeps falling off my table. So I don't know how many of my friends are going to be watching these videos. I hope a lot. I hope I draw some people to comment and ask questions. I again apologize if I'm somewhat voice difficult to understand. A couple, here and there. I'll put you down while I rip the cable bag. Okay, back. So I have okay, these aren't really shorter, but they're shorter than this black one I'm using. So, which I think actually it's about the same length, but it's already curled up. So, I don't have to uncurl it and stretch it out. Somewhere I do have very short 1-inch SATA cables, but they're red and without a right angle. But like I said, this one, yeah, see, this doesn't even seem like it does not seem like this is even that much shorter. So I may use, if I can find it, a short 1-inch cable, because I really don't want to use long cables. And that would be one of these. So and the reason being is because the way the motherboard was before, the SATA ports weren't in a row. And therefore, they were a little bit more janky to hook up. They were in almost a square. See? And SATA cables you can bend more than old style IDE. And old style IDE, you couldn't bend them at all. They were ribbon cables with wiring. And if you bent them just at the right spot, they would break the connection. So now I'm going to try rerunning these wires, because I just ran these wires the way they were. Again, I may unhook, yeah, I have to unhook the front panel power. I'm going to have to hook that up when the power supply's in. So, I don't know if that's the right way for a SATA for a top port. And it is not. So this one goes on the bottom, I believe. And if that's the case, SATA ports, it doesn't matter how you hook them up, as long as they're configured in the BIOS properly. for what is boot devices and things like that. Where the old ones, you had to actually pay attention, plug it in where it said, because if you didn't, then your system would not boot at all. So, and yes, because these are hybrid drives, and these are shielded cables, I can do this because they're not magnetic. So, I have a problem, and it is figuring out how to run the wire for the Bluetooth. It's going to have to go over my graphics card, and which is fine as long as it does not interfere with the fan. And it won't, because it's going over the top of the front panel PCB plugs, and it's shielded, so it should not matter if it's grounding out on the motherboard, on the case board. But when I get this together, I'm gonna probably cable manage it to this, like this, so it has a little room around the board. So there's one last step, and then I gotta finish wiring things up, and then I will take a break and plug all my peripherals in, plug the power in and all that, and then go from there. So let's see if I can get the power supply in on camera before I run out of room. And so I have to take the screws out of it, otherwise it's not going to fit. This power supply cost me somewhere in the neighborhood of about $60 on Amazon, brand new. It's EVGA 500 watt. Unless you're overclocking or have a board that is 225 watts, you really don't need anything over 500 watts. As long as it has the right power. Yeah, the right power connectors. So and power supply is installed, and then I have to mess with the wiring, which I will do off camera as far as cable management, because it's a pain in the butt to do one hand. It's a pain in the on this case, it's a pain in the butt to do two hands, let alone one hand. I'm putting the screws in for the power. To mount it to the case. I'm using case screws because the case screws match. Otherwise, I would be using black screws, and I didn't want to change the screws. I may have to remount the graphics card a little bit to move it up a little bit, because I can't take these covers out easily. Oh, that one comes out alright. Actually, they come out better than it did before when it was here. So, there are graphics cards that take up 3 expansion slots. They are expensive cards, but they're very powerful. And typically they have fans that are 2 and 3. And most people like to water cool those. It's an extra block and radiator usually. Sometimes it's just an extra block. Depends on what kind of model radiator you get, coolant system, and how the case is, and if it's designed to be able to have water cooling and things like that. So, alright, so screws to the power supply are tightened. I'm going to pull the cabling because I need to get access to, which now I can't reach easily. I don't recommend doing this if you don't know what you're doing, using a hook to get a cable out, but I'm experienced, so, and yes, I did tape that. It's not the best job, but it's electrical tape, and therefore it's not going to make a difference because the contacts are the silver pieces and they're shielded. So, wow, I really should have left that plugged in before I put the power supply in, because this is way harder to plug than into the other board because of the location. Okay, so I have 4 devices for SATA, and there's 2 extra spots. Now, here's the 14 pin, 24 pin, sorry, 24 pin plug. Now, so they go in like this. You don't need all 24 pins, but with a board that has over 95 watts, you want to ensure that you have enough power, so you plug in all 24 pins. When it wants to plug in. And then I have to find the CPU fan power, which is this. I believe. Yes, these are CPU ones. So, the way the cabling is, like I said, it's a mess. But it's at least shield braided. So, if you get shield braided cables, like I did, on your power supply, the reason I did that, the reason I got this power supply that I did, is, other than like these cables, they're marked. And these you can't mess, or you can't mess these up. They're SATA cables, SATA power. But everything else is marked. So, for example, that's PCIe. If you have a PCIe card that takes power. Mine does not take external power. It would sit right here. And that's because this card is powered off the PCI slot, PCIe Express 16 slot, which this card only draws about 55 watts of power. Now, I'm trying to organize cables. Well, this is this way. Because, again, this board is shorter, so this power supply plug on the other board was over above the CPU fan. That's a Molex and floppy adapter, and I have Molex to SATA cables if I need them, which with this power supply I do not. Therefore, I have more than enough SATA power in this power supply. It's another reason I chose the power supply. There's enough SATA power in this power supply to hook up I think 6 devices. And it's okay if you ground it out to the case because it's not plugged in, it's not drawing power. So